more love, more joy, everything.
It's inspired young people.
Inspiration comes from within you. When you clear out the garbage that's in your mind, you then create space for something better, more beautiful to come in.
Let's have life and have it more abundantly.
I say yes.
It's like taking a workshop. I get to be in my pajamas.
We have a very active imagination, which is why it's important to learn how to harness it and then point it in the direction you want to go.
I listen to your show every day.
It's time now for Living Your Inspired Life with Susan Burrell. Susan is no-nonsense, inspirational, motivational, and fun.
This is positive talk radio.
Practical wisdom for everyday life.
It's a gift you give yourself.
Now, here's Susan.
And welcome to Living Your Inspired Life. You're listening to News Talk 1590 KVTA. And I just want to remind everybody, as I always do at the top of the show, if you miss anything, even if you're listening today and you miss any of the juiciness of our conversation, I want you to go to livingyourinspiredlife.org. You can listen to all the amazing dialogues and sessions we're having with some really awesome self-empowerment shakers and movers that are out there in the world. And you can tune in and tune up and develop your personal power perspective on life so that you can live your best life ever, your inspired life. So with that said, I am so blessed all the time to be gifted with amazing people that are out there doing awesome work and practicing and walking their talk. So I have today the author of Buddha's Book of Meditation, Mindfulness Practices for a Quieter Mind, Self-Awareness, and Healthy Living. I want to welcome Joseph Emet. Joseph, thanks for joining me.
My pleasure. My pleasure. I'm at the other side of the continent, and say hello. I'm saying hello from quite a distance now from Montreal.
I'm so grateful we were able to make this happen. So the Buddha's Book of Meditation is a third in a series that you've written, and the other books what were they?
The first one I started out with, the Buddha's Book of Sleep, which did very well, actually. It was translated into 10 languages and won the cover award for the best self-help book of the year in 2013.
Wow.
And it was followed by Buddha's Book of Stress Reduction, which is a big issue around here.
Yeah, everywhere.
Probably there as well, yes. And finally, we got around to more basic stuff like Buddha's Book of Meditation.
So I want to tell everybody first that you have studied with one of the Zen masters that has done, again, profound work in the world, Thich Nhat Hanh at Plum Village in France, and you've become trained by him so that you can teach his version of Buddhism, yes?
Yes, he appointed me a Dharma teacher in his lineage, sharing his lineage, and I was very honored by that appointment.
Can you explain to people what that means in case people aren't aware of Buddhism and how that happens in the whole Dharma lineage?
Well, Thich Nhat Hanh, in this world, it's kind of important who you study with and where your knowledge comes from and where your understanding comes from. And Thich Nhat Hanh's teacher, his teacher's teacher, goes all the way back in a straight line, all the way back to the source. And so what that means is that I'm now part of that line. However, Thich Nhat Hanh really has a revolutionary view about all of these things. It's reported that once he was asked, what is the essential requirement for being a Dharma teacher? And his response was to be happy.
Oh, my.
I'm sure the person who asked wanted imagine that he would hear things like, oh, he has to know everything the Buddha said, or he has to know some exotic languages or something like that. And this is sort of Thich Nhat Hanh's approach in a nutshell.
To be happy.
Yeah.
I want to say yes to that. I want more of that. I want more happy.
Great, me too.
So then this third book that you've written, the book Buddha's Book of Meditation, is about mindfulness. Now, would you speak a little bit about mindfulness and really what it is? Does it mean that I have to pay attention to everything, or what?
Well, mindfulness has been described by paying attention intentionally. That's a very interesting and important way to put it, because there's psychological research out there that says that the mind automatically pays attention to what is wrong. Like when you show somebody pictures of, terrible scenes of somebody wounded, bleeding, and then beautiful scenes of sunsets and birds, at the end, they remember the bad stuff.
Yeah.
And the bad stuff makes a bigger impression on us. Just look at what the media serves us all the time, and so on. So paying attention intentionally instead of what comes up spontaneously is very important for our happiness. If you just listen to what your brain is serving us, what our brains are serving us, not all of us are going to be in a sunny mood all the time.
Right.
Like a few of us, some of us are blessed with sunny temperaments. Like according to research, 42% of our temperament is innate, and some people have won the lottery there, and they have sunny genes. But the rest of us, we are not condemned to living in a world of grays if we practice mindfulness meditation. Because especially as Thich Nhat Hanh teaches it, once you quiet the mind and once you're aware of your emotions and your mental state, it is possible to redirect it, to reprogram the mind to some extent and improve the meteorological state of our mind towards sunny skies.
Well, can I read I'd like to read something from your book, Joseph, because, and it's about mindfulness, the exact thing that you're talking about. And then I want to talk about, because during the course of the book, you talk about mindfulness or brainfulness. And I really kind of did not see the difference until I was reading the book. So I want to read, it's a little bit of a long quote because I just love your writing. So I'm just going to read this. Mindfulness, what you were just saying, is paying attention intentionally. When we are mindful, we pay attention selectively and purposefully. We do not download all the brain blabber to the desktop of our consciousness. Aware that the negativity bias of the brain exaggerates negativity, we compensate for it by intentionally paying attention to the good and the beautiful. Aware that habits can be formed intentionally as well as unintentionally, we choose to go in the direction of our values by consciously creating beneficial habits through repetition. Aware of the preciousness of this moment, we intentionally savor it. We intentionally pay attention to our breath and to the signs of tension in our bodies so that stress does not accumulate during the day and become distress. So I just love this because, like you were saying just a few moments ago, we do focus on the negativity. I am one of those people. I have a friend a girlfriend, when she stays at my house, she wakes up sunshine happy before she's had coffee. I have to have coffee. I have to have quiet time before I can rev up my happiness factor. And when you're saying put your attention on or in the direction of our values, can you speak a little bit more about that?
Yes, yes. Our values are how we want to live our life. Goals sort of look for the future, but values are about the present. The example is right now in Montreal, there's a lot of politicians who are caught with their hands in the potty, in the money jar, whatever, and so their goal might be to become wealthy. but their values is more like honesty, you know. So there you can see a conflict between values and goals. And the values like honesty, telling the truth, and caring for the people you're working for, those are every moment, like they affect what you do every moment, every day. Whereas your goal is about the future, like I want to be wealthy in the future, not this moment, you know. Well, maybe I don't want to be wealthy this moment too, but as a goal, it concerns the future.
So let me ask you, it's so funny you brought this up, Joseph, because I was having a conversation with a friend last night about the political system here in the United States, and it was very much the same thing of politicians being run by the goal of money as opposed to the value of serving their constituents and having integrity and honesty. So how does mindfulness, how do you, if somebody's goal is continually focused in the future, right? I want money, I want money, I want money.
Yeah.
How do you bring yourself back into the awareness of your true nature, your true values, which is hopefully for most people honesty and integrity and compassion? How do you do that?
Well, I think that values, as values have to do with the present moment, as they influence every action you do. Just be here now, the mantra of mindfulness practice. I think the brain is telling you dominate, conquer, win, be aggressive. This is the evolutionary brain. I mean, we've got where we are now because we won out during the evolution. We won the battles, and the losers are not here anymore. They're gone.
Right. They've departed centuries ago.
Yeah. But we have that brain, and the brain is still telling us dominate, conquer, be the alpha male if you're a male, so on and so on. I mean, just look at the sports games. Like here we have hockey a lot, and then our hockey games are like tribal warfare, you know?
Yeah.
and a lot of people like really get disabled for life, concussions, this, that, and the other. Anyway, this is the brain, but your values are a little more. Sometimes the values go against the biases and the wishes and the commands of the brain, and so the mindfulness is also the ability to be able to talk back to your brain, and this is it. Mindfulness perhaps makes you happy, but brainfulness makes you want to go out there and fight and so on. But you see, the evolutionary battle is already won. I mean, we're already here. Look at us. I mean, we have everything we need. I mean, evolution is about survival, and the evolutionary brain is still pushing us towards survival. But that battle has been won, you know, and now it's time for something else. Mindfulness, the joy of living with others harmoniously, coexisting, compassion, empathy.
So do you think that mindfulness is an avenue, practicing mindfulness, whether it's through meditation or just being aware when you're walking in nature? You talk about that in your book, being aware when you're outside, looking at things and not multitasking in your brain with your to-do list. Do you think mindfulness is the well, of course you do, but I'm going to say it. I'm going to ask you, do you think that mindfulness is the practice that we all need in order to get to the next, in order to really fulfill the next evolutionary step on our human ladder? I'm hearing as you're speaking, Joseph, that the Abraham Maslow hierarchy of needs, and the bottom rung of that is survival, and the next step up is esteem, and which means loving yourself and loving others. And do you see mindfulness as the avenue to that?
Yes. You guessed my answer already before, but yes, you're quite right. The physical part of evolution is done. I mean, in order to evolve further, we don't need a second nose or a third hand.
Right.
We already got the equipment we need. We even have the right mind, the right brain. It's a question of using it in a different way and intentionally, as we mentioned before, being here in the moment, paying attention what is beautiful, what is good, developing our compassion, our empathy, transformation, which is a big issue with my teacher, Thich Nhat Hanh. Once you're, you can change the default setting of your computer, your default browser, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
We have the same ability with our mind. We can change our default emotions. I mean, this is a big issue, like for people suffering from anxiety and depression, because their default mental states are not making them happy. But to some extent, all of us can benefit from paying more attention to the moment, to the present moment, rather than to the next moment.
Well, and I can be a personal testament to utilizing the practice of meditation to undo depression, because I used to suffer from it a lot because I have a major mind and my mind goes all the time. And once I began to practice meditation consistently, everybody consistently, that default reset, like you're saying, it completely reset, and I don't go there as often or as much or for as long as periods of time as I used to because of my meditation practice.
That's wonderful, and many people. I think you'd have to look around to find somebody who confesses to not having any stress at all in their lives. There's a lot of stress, and even if your usual state is not you don't have a big challenge, we still have the challenge of living in the present moment rather than in the future.
Yeah, that seems like a human condition, yeah? You know?
Yes. That's why mindfulness is an essential skill. And right now it's being used in psychology a lot. I mean, here the Veterans Hospital here is using mindfulness-based therapies exclusively for their clients. It's being used in education. It's really spreading because of the fact that it is so useful.
I love that. And I have some clients that when I work with them and I'm suggesting meditation, they ask me questions. But I'm listening to my thoughts, which I guess you would say you're listening to your brainfulness. and what I encourage people to do is to listen to their heart, where there's that intuitive that happens. So how would you explain that to somebody who's just starting a meditation or a mindfulness practice?
Well, I would. The explanation is one part of it. In my groups, it's a two-pronged approach. It's experiential teaching, as well as explanation. Explanation only goes to the conscious part of the brain, but the part that gives us trouble a lot of the time is the unconscious part, or automatic, spontaneous reactions, spontaneous thoughts. And in order to deal with those, we do guided meditations, and we use songs as well. You have some of my songs there.
Yes.
I hear. And the songs are wonderful for helping us, like if you're sitting there with the song running in your head, because once you listen to a song a few times or sing it a few times and you sit, the song keeps running in your mind. It becomes an earworm. and it keeps reminding you why you're there, why you're sitting there. And so each of these songs are like mantras, like mindfulness mantras, and they're not, many of them are not songs in the sense that, they have 5 verses, page-long lyrics. Many of them are just one sentence that keeps repeating.
Joseph, I want to play one of your songs right now because I want everybody to understand what you've just said. Because this is what I use in my practice. I use song as well because it does.
Really? How nice.
It really does. Especially when I'm stressed out, there are only certain songs I will listen to. I stop listening to the radio or news talk or anything, and I listen to particular songs. And what I find is in the middle of the night, when I wake up in a panic attack, if that's happening, that song I can program that song to start playing in my mind, and it calms me down. So we're going to play one of Joseph and Emet's songs. This one's called Smile with Every Breath, and then we're going to take a break right after, and we'll be back.
A smile with every breath, a flower with every step. I've already arrived, I'm already at home. A smile with every breath, a flower with every step. I've already arrived, I'm already at home. A smile with every breath, a flower with every step. I've already arrived, I'm already at home. A smile with every breath, a flower with every step. I've already arrived, I'm already at home. A smile with every breath, a flower with every step. I've already arrived, I'm already at home. A smile with every breath, a flower with every step. I've already arrived, I'm already at home. A smile with every breath, a flower with every step. I've already arrived, I'm already at home. A smile with every breath, a flower with every step. I've already arrived, I'm already at home.
This is Susan Burrell from Living Your Inspired Life. I always find it easier and more fun to expand my life by being connected to open-hearted, like-minded people committed to being on the same path I am. If you feel the same way, I suggest you visit a Center for Spiritual Living. There are wonderful communities in Ventura, Ojai, Santa Barbara, Oxnard, Pleasant Valley, Camarillo, and Westlake Village. You'll find terrific people, great information, and more tools to help you live the life you were born to live. So go to csl.org to find a center near you. That's csl.org for a center near you. And welcome back to Living Your Inspired Life. I'm Susan Burrell, and I'm having a conversation with the author of the book called Buddha's Book of Meditation, Joseph Emet. And Joseph, if you're just joining us, I want everybody to know he is a Dharma teacher in the Thich Nhat Hanh lineage of Buddhism. And so, Joseph, let's talk a little bit about, on break you were mentioning that there's you feel like there's been a shift in Buddhism. So let's talk about that for our listeners that may not know anything about Buddhism.
Yes, it's interesting that in the last few decades there's been a shift in psychology as well. Psychology started now to concern itself with positive states of mind. Positive psychology is a big topic these days. And I feel that a similar change has happened in the world of Buddhism. Like if you read the books about Zen, like written, 20, 30, 40 years ago, you'll find Kensho, enlightenment, insight as the topics, something to strive for, something to meditate, to work for, and so on. But these days, the Dalai Lama says so many times the purpose of human life is to be happy. And Thich Nhat Hanh actually, his practices that he offers are designed for bringing about a happier life, a happier state of mind. So this same change in psychology towards positive psychology has also happened, especially in the teaching of Thich Nhat Hanh. And there, as opposed to a lot of the psychology books, what Thich Nhat Hanh offers are exercises, practical exercises that address your unconscious, so that you can make a real change. Transformation is a huge, big issue in Thich Nhat Hanh, and let's face it, things like wisdom and enlightenment and insight, if they're not accompanied by happiness, they ring hollow a little bit. A wise and unhappy man, seems like a contradiction of sorts.
Absolutely. That person will not inspire me, I'll tell you.
Yes.
But somebody who's happy, and I guess that's what I mean by walking the talk. If you're really doing the practice and you're happy and joyful, that's what I want more of.
Mm-hmm. Yes, ditto here.
So in some of these practical exercises, does it, besides dealing with the unconscious, which sounds kind of nebulous to me, does it deal with emotions? Because I notice in my practice, my meditation practice, sometimes if I have an issue going on that's kind of, I keep pushing to the background of my brain and it's running as an ongoing thing. If I sit quietly, this might be why people don't want to sit in meditation, because sometimes when I take that time to sit, those emotions that I've been pushing to the back of my mind that I don't want to deal with, like my anger or my fear or whatever, show up, and I can feel the emotions moving through my body. And I got to sit there and deal with the emotion. Mm-hmm. Or not, right? So are there exercises for that?
Well, there's many different themes for meditation. But what you mentioned, that being aware of the emotional color of a thought is really very important as a first step. For example, you're thinking of this woman, that her image just passes through your mind. You're aware, like you see her picture in your mind, the thought is there. You're aware of the thought, the picture, the image. Mm-hmm. But what kind of emotional color, what kind of aura is this woman wrapped in? Do you see her with admiration or with contempt, for example? Or tomorrow's meeting, do you look upon it with hope or with dread? This emotional color accompanies every thought, and often we're aware of the thought, but not as much of with the emotional color. And that's always the first step in mindfulness practice, the recognition. Once you recognize and you're aware of something, then you're in a position to change it. So the loving kindness meditation, for example, is a big part of Buddhist practice. Filling your mind with loving energy towards everybody and every being. Well, you see, I think that Buddha did not mean love or kindness without the rest of the positive emotions, without admiration, without compassion, without hope, without gratitude, without contentment, serenity. All of even John Lennon's Peace and Love is, I think, a shorthand for all the positive emotions.
Mm-hmm.
So, as we fill our hearts with positive emotions, every thought that passes through the mind, every picture, every image of a person is wrapped up in a package, in a beautiful, like a Christmas present package, a package of positive emotions. We see everything and everybody in a positive light. This is a practice, and as we practice that, it becomes a routine. It becomes a habit. So when you think of someone, automatically she is wrapped up in the light of love and of admiration and contentment, whatever, all those emotions.
So Joseph, I have a specific question around that, because I hear all that and I get that, and I actually I practice the loving kindness meditation often when I'm feeling so stuck about a particular person that I can't find a place of loving compassion for. But so here's the thing. In the United States, we're all getting ready. We're all preparing for tax season. So how do you deal with a thing? Because it feels like a thing as opposed to a person, right? Like, I'm going to owe money. How do you wrap that in a nice, compassionate package and go, okay, I'm going to owe money and it's all going to be okay?
You're talking about, say that again in terms of, is it income tax season? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, in the United States.
Well,
and I know that brings up a lot of fear and anger for people.
Let me tell you that we're not immune from income tax in Canada either. But anyway, well, there are two issues. One of them is you can think of the positive sides of it, that your money is going to build schools, or it's going to provide health care for certain people who need it. It's going to provide welfare for families who absolutely need it, school lunches, this, that, and the other, which is a positive thing. It's giving from the heart in that way. The second way is, I think, the Buddha talks about that everything we think of is accompanied by either neutral emotions, positive emotions, or negative emotions.
Mm-hmm.
And his recommendation is someone, say, let's talk about people for a moment, someone you feel neutral about, you can raise that to positivity. Like your neighbor you never talk to, just a face, you can develop more positive views about her. And by the same token, if there is someone that you dislike somehow, intensely or otherwise, if you just manage to bring that up to the neutral level, that's already an accomplishment. So I agree that there are situations and people who are not particularly lovable, but if that's the situation, bring that up to neutral. At least that way, it does not disturb your own peace of mind, because that's the big issue. I mean, the person you're disturbed about is probably not even aware that you're disturbed about
absolutely,
him,
I'm sure, right?
And so those thoughts are only disturbing you, So as you bring them up to neutral, then you feel more freedom.
So in a mindfulness practice, Joseph, as you're sitting in meditation, how can you kind of guide us through that just a bit of moving from the negative focus to the neutral focus?
Well, would you like a very short guided meditation here?
I would, as long as there's not a lot of pauses.
Maybe 3-4 minutes.
Just give us a minute. That would be good.
Okay. Well, I often use a bell, something like this.
Okay. And
It's amazing as we get used to the sound of the bell as a clue to paying attention, as a clue to coming back to your breath and to the sensations in the body. This becomes so automatic that when you hear the bell, your mind goes there.
right. That's a really good tool.
Yes, it is. And there are mindfulness bells you can download. You can just Google something like mindfulness bell and you'll get your choice of them. You can program into your phone or into your computer to ring maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes intervals at loudness level you choose, and so on. I personally don't recommend it forever, but for a week or two at least, it's not a bad practice to be sort of led by the scruff of your neck.
Right. No, and especially for beginners or people like me that get stuck in a rut. That's a very good tool, because I can see where it would remind me to bring myself back to a centered state or like you're saying, a neutral place, like regarding my taxes, instead of amping up and being upset and worried. If I were to do that, I could gently be reminded without myself freaking out.
It's funny because I was right in the middle of my taxes this morning, and I can really sympathize with you.
Yeah. So, Joseph, let's talk a little bit about, in your book, you talk about light versus darkness. And actually, I want to read something from the book about that, if you will allow me. Because you say we can be mesmerized with darkness. And this is what you were saying at the beginning of our conversation of being, the mind tends to go and focus on what's wrong instead of what's good and beautiful. So we can be mesmerized with darkness, the darkness that may be there in the past or the darkness we anticipate in the future with anxious thoughts. But we may never be able to solve all the problems of the past. The way out of the past problems is like a closed door. Time has closed the door, and we bump into that closed door over and over again as we explore the dark areas of our past. Go to the past for a visit. Go to enjoy the light if there's any light there. But if all you encounter is darkness, don't stay there too long. Come back toward the light of the present. I like that because I like your image of bumping into the door, because I do that. I've done that as my practice, to close the door of my mind on the things that have in my past that have felt harmful to me. But I know about bumping into that door all the time, that closed door.
Yes.
So that's almost like the bell reminding me to turn around and go into the light.
Well, yes. I mean, I of course, this came to me out of personal experience. It's a very common personal experience, and I want to tell you that you're not alone in making these discoveries, and I'm with you all the way, and that's how I came to write that.
So then in mindfulness, when we're doing that practice, a meditation practice, here's what's happened to me, Joseph, is those thoughts will start running as soon as I try and quiet my mind. Okay, this happens a lot. As soon as I sit down to try and quiet my mind, the babble starts, and then I'm following those thoughts, and I am often going to the past and bumping my head against the door. how do I disengage that, Joseph, besides just setting the intention to not do that?
I'm going to ask you to do a very, very short, simple exercise.
Okay.
Don't think of a pink elephant.
Oh, God. Oh, God, no.
This, of course, you've heard this before.
Yes.
As soon as I say that, you have the image of a pink elephant in front of you. So we cannot run away from our thoughts. I mean, you can run away from a mad dog because the dog is outside you, but you can't run away from a thought because it's inside you. When you run, it runs with you. If you run fast, the thought also runs fast.
Oh.
So you cannot stop thoughts like that, but you can replace them. Now, I'm going to ask you to think of a green elephant.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Now, what happened to the pink one?
Gone.
Yes. So this is the wisdom of Buddhism, replacing thought, and this is at the bottom of concentrating on your breath, because the mind is going to continue to think until the day we die, and it's not a question of stopping that, but it's like give the dog a bone so it doesn't chew on the furniture. Give the mind something else to do, and that something else is the breath. Concentration on the breath, concentration on the sensations instead of thoughts. Sensations come from the body. They are wordless. The body does not speak in words. My body doesn't know any English. When I hear words, it's coming from my brain. My legs speak in sensations. So what we do in meditation, especially at the beginning, is shift the focus from the brain toward the sensation, toward the breathing. And what I particularly enjoy, the songs help in this respect as well.
We have another song from your website, which tell everybody what your website is, Joseph, because I'd like to play this song. It's called Just Breathe. But what's your website?
The website is mindfulnessmeditationcenter.org, and the center is spelled the Canadian way, TRE, center. And if you're looking for material, go to books, and on books, click on Buddha's Book of Meditation. And there are 12 mindfulness songs, mantras like mantras, and 3 guided meditations that you can download or listen to. Download it and listen to it at home if you like. I mean, listen to somewhere else where you don't have your computer. And they are part of Buddha's Book of Meditation. But so if you want sort of more information on how to use the songs and so on, and the background behind the songs and the practices, the book is helpful, but you can download the songs without buying the book as well.
Right, but I want to encourage everybody. The songs are absolutely useful, and Joseph in each chapter has a written guided meditation that you can follow. But having the songs, I think, really, really helps to align your focus. And
yes. And may I repeat the name of the website one more time? Because my experience is that I never have a pencil ready, and this goes right over my head. So it's mindfulnessmeditationcenter.org, all one word, Mindfulness Meditation Center, spelled the Canadian way, TRE. Click on books and on Buddha's Book of Meditation.
So we're going to listen to the song called Just Breathe right now.
Just breathe, just breathe. Everything will be alright. Just breathe, just breathe. Everything will be fine. Just breathe, just breathe. Everything will be alright. Just breathe, just breathe. Everything will be fine. Just breathe, just breathe. Everything will be alright. Just breathe, just breathe. Everything will be fine. Just breathe, just breathe. Everything will be alright. Just breathe, just breathe. Everything will be fine. Just breathe, just breathe. Everything will be alright. Just breathe, just breathe. Everything will be fine. Everything will be fine.
You're listening to Living Your Inspired Life, and I'm talking with the author of Buddhist Book of Meditation, Joseph Emet, and we were just listening to a song called Just Breathe that it sounds so helpful and useful, Joseph, just to stay focused. And I got to say, I feel calmer. I do feel like everything's going to be all right.
Yes, that song has accompanied me to knee surgery, to root canal treatment.
Ooh, yeah.
And when I was lost once hiking in southwestern France, when it got dark and I got lost in a forest, I just kept singing that to myself. It has accompanied people to radiation treatment who are suffering from cancer.
Well, I can see where I'm going to be singing it when I do my taxes this weekend. Just breathe. Everything's going to be all right. So, Joseph, let's talk about a couple of the other chapters in your book. So one of the things that I do when I shared with you before we started, but I'll share with the listening audience. When I get an author's book, I often just open it to wherever I open it to and see what it says. And, 99.9% of the time, it's exactly what I needed. And so I opened it up to self-regulation.
Oh.
Yeah. So let's talk about that for just a moment.
For sure.
So self-regulation, that is part of what mindfulness brings to us, yeah?
Well, let me start by saying that one of the images that Thich Nhat Hanh, my teacher, uses a lot as for mindfulness is the image of a loving, compassionate mother embracing a crying baby.
Mm-hmm.
He says that, say, when you're irritated or angry or fearful inside, anxious, don't leave that energy alone in your heart. As you develop the mindfulness energy with practice, you're in a position to call upon mindfulness, which sees that energy for what it is. Don't let it take over your entire heart. Like a cloud is not the sky,
Uh-huh.
And let mindfulness energy, like a loving mother, embrace the crying baby, the irritation, the fear, the anxiety, and comfort it. And that is so much in tune with what psychologists tell about the beginnings of self-regulation in babies. When a baby is in a funk, crying, the mother comes and picks it up, and the mother might not really know what's wrong, whether it's, a tight diaper or whether it's hunger or whether it's sleep, whatever it is. But the mother just picks it up, and the mother's peaceful energy somehow gets to the child, like contagion, like mood contagion, and calms the child down. And as at the beginning, the children don't have the capacity for self-regulation, but they learn it. They learn it with the experience of a parent showing them how to do it. And later on, when they can do it for themselves. So there again, mindfulness is not an exotic thing that, that nobody has it, you have to learn it from Thich Nhat Hanh. In this tradition, mindfulness is an energy that we all have, but to varying degrees.
Mm-hmm.
So some of us, it's really buried deep down, and with others, it's more close to the surface. So what we do with mindfulness practice is bring if your mindfulness energy is deeper down, bring it to the surface by constantly using it. Whatever you use becomes more up to date,
Right.
So this is one of the practices, one of the ways of practicing.
Joseph, I want to read another quote from your book that's in the self-regulation chapter, because you talk about self-control. And I was having a conversation with someone about about being self-control can really shut you down sometimes, even though we're taught, at least in our country, to control ourselves, right? So I want to read this quote. Self-control is linked with repression and self-regulation with a measure of equanimity. Self-control is needed when equanimity is lacking. We achieve self-control by biting our lips. We can move toward equanimity and self-regulation with mindfulness meditation. Most of the time we practice a mix of the two, but the closer the mix is to self-regulation, the more comfortable it feels. I got to say yes to that. And the biting the lips thing, oh yeah, been there, done that.
Yes, we all know what is meant when you talk about a very controlled person. That is not the aim. That's not where we're going. But a self-regulating person, yeah, that's what I want. That's more pleasant. Yes, for sure.
Yeah. So there's another chapter in your book, and we've only got another minute or two, but it's called Getting Out of the Box of Yourself, and that caught my attention too. Can you speak just a little bit about that, getting out of the box of yourself?
Yes, I went to university in Boston, and I'm old enough that President Kennedy was giving speeches at that time.
Wow.
And I'm sure he thought that he was speaking normally, but to me, his accent always made me smile, because that wasn't my accent, I think, like a Scotsman or an Irish person, they speak with a thick accent, but I'm sure they're not aware of their accent. They think that's normal English,
Right.
So we get used to the way we are, our habits, our way of walking, our way of thinking, our emotions. That's box. And like a depressed person, you can go and make jokes and, wisecracks and laugh, and she might think you're being frivolous because she's so used to sort of like long face, serious appearance.
Uh-huh.
So we get used to the way we are. Thich Nhat Hanh says people choose the suffering with which they are familiar rather than go out and look for something better.
Right.
So this is, I think, a big barrier to sort of, because every time you're looking for transformation, for many people, it feels you're getting out of your comfort zone, so to speak. You know?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Mm-hmm.
That has been my personal experience too.
Mm-hmm.
I have often been flung out of my comfort zone, forced out of it, and hanging in midair, going, now what? But the more times that has happened to me, the happier I become, because I have to look for a different way of being and expressing myself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, Joseph, I want to say thank you for joining us today. Joseph Emet is the author of Buddha's Book of Meditation, Mindfulness Practices for a Quieter Mind, Self-Awareness, and Healthy Living. And his website, again, is Mindfulness Meditation Center, CENTRE.org. Joseph, thank you so much for joining us today. And I'm just going to finish with, and so it is, namaste.
Smiling in Buddha's garden, breathing in, breathing out. Smiling in Buddha's garden, I'm watering seeds of peace. Smiling in Buddha's garden, breathing in, breathing out. I'm smiling in Buddha's garden.